Hello everyone and welcome to Good Journeys Tarot. This is Rosemary and today I thought I would do an update to my previous video about tarot mail. I actually have since then, I guess that was April, come into several new decks and some other items, and so I thought I would share them with you real quick. So one of the items that I received was the Oracle of Echoes. Which I believe I've shown in another video where I did some edging on this. This is actually, every other card is red, gold, and then every other card is a black as well. And I thought it went really well with the backs of the cards. I came across this deck when I was learning about Anna Torian, who is the artist behind a deck I ordered last year and is still not arrived, so we'll talk about that at another time. And I thought the imagery really went with the other deck, at least some of them. There is a card in here to me that looks almost identical to a card in the next deck, which is a tarot deck. I'm enjoying working with this deck. There's some beautiful concepts and ideas in it. The artwork is fantastic. So this card actually reminds me of the World card in the upcoming Bone, Stone, and Earthflesh deck. So I'm hoping that I might enjoy working with this Oracle deck with that deck when it arrives. And so that's why I added it to my collection. And I really do enjoy working with it. The next deck that I acquired was, of course, the one that everyone's acquiring right now, the Radiant Wise Spirit. The Radiant Wise Spirit is actually almost a perfect deck. The one thing that is not perfect about this deck is that it's highly glossy. And as a result, because it's highly glossy, the cardstock doesn't feel great. The gloss just makes the cardstock feel cheap, inexpensive, like fragile to me. But I do love the images. This is actually what the first edition of Los Scarabea's Pamela Cullen Smith RWS deck looked like, with borders. And the other thing that I really love about the deck is the Lilies and Roses. The Lilies and Roses is my favorite backing for an RWS deck. And so I love the deck overall. I could do without the glossiness. I like the packaging as well. I mean, this box is just the perfect size and shape to hold all the cards, and also add a guidebook, which, if this was another deck, this would be actually a pretty good sized guidebook. In this one, being a Los Scarabeo deck, there is actually only like maybe 20 pages for 4 or 5 languages. But gorgeous deck, despite its glossiness, and the packaging is awesome. Just great on that. This deck is the Prisma Visions Tarot, which is in its 4th edition. This deck was on my wish list for a while. I love the images online. This deck has forced me to look at my correspondences again for things. Love the gilding, great card stock. It is a little glossy, but I do love that the minor arcana form stories and triptograms or pictograms across all of the cards. There are a couple of major arcana that I just couldn't relate to. But then the colors and everything else about this deck is just great. And then there's the bonus card, which in this edition is the Winged Boar. And so I did enjoy that about it as well. I was talking about correspondences earlier. One of the correspondences I've struggled with my tarot is seasons. And so this book actually gave a set of seasons, and I was like, what? Specifically, the swords they associate with winter, and in the swords cards, it is snowing. Which forced me to then go back and look at my correspondences for the seasons again. And I'll be doing a video about that later. because it's not a very simple thing. No one really agrees, but we will visit that as well. This is my newest deck, which is the Tattoo Tarot Ink and Intuition. I've seen these images online for quite a long time and loved the Major Arcana and the court cards, but I wasn't sure about the pips until I actually walked into the store, and this deck was in Barnes & Noble, and they don't come wrapped in plastic, so you actually could open up the box and you could look at the cards. Initially, because this is a Marseille-inspired deck, I was thinking this may be a way to learn Marseille, but one of the things that people have pointed out is that some of the pip cards don't actually follow the pattern of the Marseille. I'm not sure that that's a deal breaker for me. I do like the way that these pips, in addition to being pips, actually add a little bit to define the meaning of the card. And by that, I mean, if you look at this two of coins, it actually has the balance there, which we kind of get with that two of coins, and the juggling in the RWS. There's some others in here that does a similar thing. Like here with this two of wands, there's actually this little bit of brick on the sides as like that, building of an empire kind of thing. And so I do love this deck. It's gorgeous. And here in the six of coins, we see the giving, the exchange. So I really do love the deck, and it gives some beautiful readings. So that is the newest one that I brought into my collection and am working with. So last but not least are two decks from the same person. I initially had decided not to acquire this deck because I have the first edition. But then I kept thinking, I don't want to be without it, I don't want to be without it, and you can't get the first edition anymore. So I finally broke down and purchased the Spirit Keepers Tarot Vitruvian edition, which is the sepia tone version. I will say that I do like the backs of this card, even more so than the first edition. There were some changes with the cards in the second edition that took me a while to get used to, like the knights are now horses. The Emperor card is probably my least favorite change. I've said that before, because it just, to me, doesn't feel like it goes with the artwork of the rest of the cards. But all of that said, I have really been able to connect with this deck, and I work with this deck much more frequently than I do my first edition. The first edition just seems spiritually heavy to me, and so I only work with it periodically, every couple of weeks or so. Whereas this deck, I feel like I can work with every day on matters of spirit. And so I am really enjoying it. And one of the things that Benabel Wynn did right after she finished selling this deck was that she posted an update to her Oracle, which is the Bone Script Oracle that she had done, and it's free to download and print yourself, but she also set it up with card backs and images on a card maker website so you could order them printed, which I did. I mean, the fronts are pretty basic. I mean, they have the words and description, and they have the old script as well as the new characters for the words. But ever since I got the SKT and I saw the little fox in the corner of the Fool card, I felt like that's like my guide on my tarot path, especially through the SKT. So I went with the Katsumi backing on these cards, and I'm enjoying working with these cards with the Vitruvian edition. She also has a free download of a guidebook, which to me, the guidebook is basically just repeats everything that's on the card. There's just a little bit more information, not a lot. But I went ahead and got it anyway to have it. And so those are the decks that are new since my last Tarot Mail walkthrough. I also purchased my first bag. Like I usually don't purchase bags because they're so expensive, like sometimes as much as a deck. But I saw this and I just fell in love. It is a fox, which is actually made, if you can see, out of the forest. And I just thought that really spoke to me as a guide, um, and this is a high quality bag. I mean, it is gorgeous. So I purchased it to put my Bone Script Oracle in. Also have two new crystal lovelies. One is Carnelian, which I purchased to keep with my Deck of the Bastard that I carry with me everywhere. Love it. And then I also purchased this heart-shaped garnet, which I'm using currently to work through some things with my sacral chakra. Shocker. Yeah, shocker. I'm fixing my life. And so I do love that. And the last thing that I've gotten in since my last video was Your Tarot Court. I really wanted to love this book. In fact, I gave away a copy of this book on my channel, but I'm really not connecting with it. I was really hoping it would help me relate to the courts more, but there's just something about it. I don't know if it's the pop culture references or the way the book is structured, but I'm just struggling with it and getting through it. So I'll probably continue to try to read through it, but I don't think it's going to be my source of information for the tarot court. I think I'll keep going back to Holistic Tarot for that, as well as some of my other books that I have on hand. So that's my tarot mail since the last time I did one of these videos. I am looking forward to receiving another deck in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully by October I'll have the Bonestone and Earthflesh in my hand as well, and we can talk about those. Until next time, good journeys.